Good day everyone! My name is Nisha Daris Gajali. So for today, we will be revisiting the 14 psychological principles. So I know you are wondering why are we using the word revisiting. Actually, we've encountered these psychological principles way back in our first semester. So the 14 psychological principles were developed by the American Psychological Association or APA to provide framework for school redesign and reform based on how students learn best. So, the 14 psychological principles are classified into four categories. We have the cognitive and metacognitive factors, the motivational and affective factor, the developmental and social factor, and lastly, the individual differences. So, first is we have the cognitive and metacognitive factor. So, cognitive processes are about what you think, while metacognitive processes are about how you think and understand your thinking. So, the first principle under the cognitive and metacognitive factor, we have the nature of the learning process. So, learning is a complex process that is influenced by an individual's prior knowledge, experience, and the strategies they use to acquire new information. The second principle is we have goal of the learning process. So, learning is most effective when it is goal-oriented and goals that are clear and achievable enhance motivation and learning. The third one is we have construction of knowledge. So knowledge is constructed through the interaction of new information with prior knowledge, beliefs, and experiences. The fourth principle under the cognitive and metacognitive factor, we have the strategic thinking. So effective learning involves the use of various strategies that are appropriate to the task and are adapted to the learning goals. The fifth one is we have thinking about thinking or thinking beyond thinking. In simple words, it is the metacognition. So metacognitive strategies such as self-monitoring and self-regulation enhance learning by helping learners to plan, monitor, and assess their understanding and performances. The last principle under the cognitive and metacognitive factor, we have the context of learning. So the context of learning encompasses the various environments, conditions, and factors that influence how individuals learn. It includes physical settings, social dynamics, cultural backgrounds, and psychological aspects. So, the second factor is we have motivational and affective factor. So, motivational factors drive the why behind every action that we do. The affective factor influences those emotional experiences during those actions. So we actually have three principles under this factor. The first one is we have motivational and emotional influences on learning. So motivation and emotional significantly influence learning and performances. So positive emotion can enhance learning while negative emotion can hinder them. So next is we have intrinsic motivation to learn. So intrinsic motivation to learning is more effective when learners are intrinsically motivated and interested in the content and task. So if you don't know what is intrinsically motivated, when we say intrinsic motivation, it is driven by pleasure and satisfaction. The last one under the motivational and affective factor, we have the effects of motivation on effort. So motivation affects the amount of effort that learners are willing to invest in learning, and this effort is crucial for successful learning outcomes. The third factor is we have developmental and social factor. When we say developmental factor, it changes throughout an individual's life. When we say social factor, it emphasizes the role of interaction and societal factors in shaping behavior and experiences. So together, they provide a comprehensive understanding of human behavior and growth within a social context. So under this factor, we have two principles. We have the developmental influence and the social influence. So first is we have the developmental influences on learning. So learning is influenced by developmental factor, includes cognitive, emotional, and social development. Instruction should be appropriate to the learner's development level because we have different developmental level. So the last principle under this factor is the social influences on learning. So social interaction and the culture of the learning environment play a critical role in learning. Collaborative learning and positive social interaction enhance learning. The last factor in the 14th psychological principle is the individual differences factor. Understanding individual differences is crucial for fields like education, psychological, and human resources, as it helps in tailoring approaches to suit the unique needs and strength of each person. So we have three principles under this factor: the individual differences in learning, learning and diversity, and standard assessment. First is individual differences in learning. Learners have different strengths, interests, and ways of learning. Instruction should be tailored to accommodate these individual differences. The second one is learning and diversity. Diversity among learners, including cultural, linguistic, and experiential differences, should be recognized and respected in the learning process. The last one is we have standards and assessment. Assessment should be based on standards that reflect meaningful and important learning goals and should be used to support and enhance learning. So, that is all the 14 psychological principles that were developed by the American Psychological Association. So these principles emphasizes the importance of considering the cognitive, motivational, developmental, and social aspects of learning to create effective and inclusive educational environment.
Good day everyone, my name is Wilma Rose Arakamura and I'll be tackling about the learner-centered instruction applying the 14 principles by Egin and Chowchak. So when we say learner-centered instruction, it is all about learners. So broadly encompasses method of teaching that shift the focus of instruction from the teachers to the student. So learner-centered itself, it focuses on the learner. Okay, Egin and Chowchak give us three characteristics of learner-centered instruction from the 14 principles. So first is learner are the center of the learning process. Second, teachers guide students' construction of understanding. And third, teachers teach for understanding. So when we say learner are the center of the learning process, why is that? So the learner is considered to be the center of the curriculum because it is all about what the learner brings to the learning experiences. So the curriculum should be based on the learner's interests and needs. The learners has to be at the center of the curriculum because the objective of the teaching allow the learners to acquire the knowledge, skills that they need, as each person is different. So it is a learner-centered. Learners are at the center of the learning process, in which the learners are the one who brings the learning experiences. So learners are at the center of the learning experiences, in which students' needs should always come first. So making sure to keep them at the center is the key to ensuring they are gaining the skills of critical thinking, problem solving, oral and written communication, collaboration, access network, agility and adaptability, and curiosity. So it should be all about the learner. So it is learner at the center of the learning process. So second, teachers guide students' construction of understanding. So teachers in learner-centered classroom provide a lot of opportunity for the learner to actively think, figure out things and learn on their own. So the teachers serve more as a facilitator. They are the one who guide the students. They are not the one who be a stage on stage, but they are the guide on the side of the students. So the teachers must need to know the learners' differences para they can determine what are those capabilities sa ilahang students. So what are those student capabilities? They need to determine what are the differences of their student for them to determine or for them to know what are the student differences para makabalot sila on how to guide those students. So teachers guide student construction of understanding. And third is teachers teach for understanding. So students are placed at the center of the learning process. So the teachers help them to take responsibility for learning. So as a result, students through their own active research and experimentation, experience movement from confusion to searching to answer, discovery, finally to understanding. So, teaching for understanding describes an approach to teaching that requires students to think, analyze, problem solve, and make meaning of what they have learned. That's why teachers teach for understanding. Okay? They are the one who teaches the student understanding. For example, that student are capable in doing that oral one, any kind of what you call that, yeah. So the teachers teach for understanding of the students. So I guess that concludes my discussion, and thank you.